No, in fact, I think they pretty much aligned with what we were reporting in that there is some interest for the Eagles to bring Sam Bradford back. It's just not going to be at the franchise tag level. They've pretty much done their due diligence, and they've decided he's not a $20 million a year quarterback. That's not to say they don't want him. That's not to say they don't think he can be effective. But they need him at a much more team-friendly number, whether that's 15 or 16 million. That's what we're going to find out, because their mentality is let him go to free agency, let him see what he's worth on the open market, and see if they can work out a deal from there.
Yeah, so, obviously this whole franchise tag, I don't think many people did not think that the franchise tag was something, a road that they were going to go down, but he did say this is really the first time they've kind of tipped a hand one way or the other, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still haven't said officially they're not going to put it on him. They could still change their mind, but he sure intimated that it wasn't in their thought process to do it. And he mentioned the fact it's a two-way street, and he understands that what he thinks is team-friendly is not necessarily what Sam Bradford is going to think is fair to him. So there's two avenues to go down, and both sides have to agree to it, and that's where it becomes sticky, because the conventional wisdom is that somebody's going to be desperate enough to give Sam Bradford what he wants, near $20 million at least, and we'll see. The other day I told you, Mike, that you go down the quarterback contracts in this league, there aren't a lot of guys who make $20 million, and the ones that do are really, really accomplished, and Sam just isn't. So I'm not sure that conventional wisdom is all that correct, because I think people are looking at it, and understandably so. They realize the salary cap's going to go up about $10 to $11 million. There's going to be more money to spend, and the assumption is people are going to be willing to spend it on a quarterback. And I'm not sure if that's true, simply because if you don't have to pay Sam Bradford $20 million, why do you want to? And the first thing I say to Tom Condon, his agent, when he asks for that, I say, well, look, Aaron Rodgers makes $22 million. Russell Wilson makes $21 million. What makes you think Sam Bradford's in that category? And I'm not sure he can come back with legitimate claims that he should be.
Yeah. And the comments from Howie Roseman, for those of you listening out there, he says it goes then between all of us and whether we can figure something out that makes sense on both sides, said Roseman. He tried. It's unclear what the price range is here in this situation, but, it sounds at least as if Roseman wants to have conversations with the Bradford side as opposed to just letting him walk without even approaching them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he understands, and everyone understands that this is probably the best option for the Eagles in 2016 is to somehow get Sam Bradford back. I think if you bring in Chase Daniel, he's not going to be as good. If you bring back Nick Foles, he's not going to be as good, at least from a skill set type of standard. So I think everyone understands that, but that's not the only question. There's a lot of other questions on the back end, namely what does that do to your salary cap, not only for 2016, but 2017 and 2018, because you're going to have to give them at least 3 years, you would think. So all of this comes into it, and that's the part the Eagles are struggling with, because it's a fine line to walk, and they have to be very, very careful about declaring this is our quarterback for the next 3 years, and we're going to pay him significant amounts of money, because then if it doesn't work out, Mike, it completely hamstrings them.
Yeah, and there was a former GM who commented on the Kirk Cousins situation, and he said, you're not paying Kirk Cousins. I guess you could substitute Sam Bradford. You're paying for the value of that position, meaning I read between the lines by saying, yeah, these guys are not worth $20 million, but that position is worth $20 million if, in fact, you decide that's a better option than another route.
Yeah, and I agree with that mentality. The only thing I would say, well, I disagree with it. I don't think it goes to $20 million because you have the standard and you have the 9 quarterbacks who are all very, very good, and then these guys fit right behind in sort of Ryan Tannehill territory. So he probably got overpaid. I think he's at $19 million next season. If you have Sam Bradford or Kirk Cousins, for that matter, at $16, $17 million, they're probably still overpaid. There's no question about it for the type of players they are. But there, I would agree, yes, you're playing for the position. You're paying for the position.
Yeah, and, Howie Roseman, the VP of football operations for the Eagles, kind of the de facto GM right now, says he would like the Eagles to, bring back Sam Bradford. We'll see. Yesterday we heard the somewhat of an opinion, I guess, from Ann Rappaport that the Eagles view Chase Daniels as more than a backup player. So this quarterback carousel is going to go around for a little while here. Once we get to the draft area here, John, you'll hear the Eagles probably tied to quarterback. But I saw Mel Kiper's first mock draft. He had a tackle going to them, Jake Conklin, from Michigan State. And I guess, the question next would be Jason Peters. Do we anticipate? They haven't made any news with him yet. Does that mean what would be a time that Peters? What would be the time frame that Peters would be in trouble if he were to get cut?
Well, I think that would be later. I think that would be a June 1st designation, only because you have to see how the draft kind of shakes out. And I think there is a lot of logic to the fact that it's probably going to be one of those two positions. It's going to be either quarterback or offensive line. And if you draft a tackle like Conklin, all of a sudden it doesn't make a lot of sense to bring Jason Peters back, and that's where you kind of move on. But if you're going in a different direction and you draft a quarterback and sort of sign Chase Daniel to be the bridge or something of that nature, then you do want Peters back for another season. So I think that is yet to be determined. They realize he can still play. Obviously, the injuries start to be a concern. He's getting up there in age. Last season, I think it was the second oldest regular offensive lineman to start consistently. So that's always creeping up. And the old adage in the NFL is always it's better to give up on a player a year too early than a year too late. And I think that's the Eagles' thought process with Jason Peters. They still think he has value, and I think they're right about that. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense if you draft a kid like Conklin to bring back Jason Peters for another year.
John, he also mentioned Howie Roseman, that he kind of confirmed that the Eagles would like to sign Fletcher Cox to a long-term deal. He said he knows that we feel that way. I think we all kind of figure that, but do you anticipate something getting done by the draft?
I do. It seems to be, and you look around the NFL, and you don't have to look very far. You've seen all the Eagles extensions. It seems like players, by and large, value security above all else. And if you got a $50 million guaranteed payday on the table, yeah, it might go up to 60 or 65 million if you roll the dice. But when you're at that level, as far as everyday life, what does that really mean to you as a human being? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're pretty well off either way. So I think just by the nature of athletes in general, I think the Eagles will make a very substantive offer to Fletcher Cox, and I think both sides want to get it done, and both sides realize how talented he is, and I think it is going to get done at this offseason.
Yeah, and, I think Jason Peters, he has 3 years left on that deal, correct, John?
Yes.
So,
and by the way, there's no way he's going to last all 3 of those seasons, even if the Eagles don't draft an offensive lineman. He's going to have to renegotiate at some point if he wants to play out that entire contract. So I would be stunned if he lasted that 3 years. And really, it's just are you get one more year out of him or not at this point?
I agree with that. I was going to say, you wonder if they just want to try to sneak one more year from him and try to shore up another area But as you said, I think you said this with the guys on Monday when I wasn't here, that 13, there's only so many positions that you really consider when you're drafting that high, which could mean a trade back, and to get that second-round pick back might be a high percentage here.
Yeah, it's much more likely if you're talking about going up or going down. The fact that they don't have that second-round pick makes it much more likely that they would trade down to try to get it back. Plus the fact that, as you mentioned just a second ago, they have so many positions they have to upgrade. You can't do it all season. So whether it's you sort of patch it together with Jason Peters for one more year and try to get other positions done, something of that nature. You always have to put that all in the equation. But anytime you're an NFL team and you're looking for multiple positions, it's better to have more draft picks. And that's why so many people criticize the Foles for Bradford trade originally. It wasn't necessarily, okay, maybe Sam has a better skill set. It was about the salary, and it was about giving up that second-round pick going the other way.
All right, John, a couple quick NFL hits real fast. Rams purged a lot of big-name players today. Laurinaitis, Chris Long, Jared Cook out in L.A. A lot of cap purges out there. So you're starting to see some teams make some high-profile moves.
Yeah, and you think about the Rams and where they are and the fact that you have to move from St. Louis to Los Angeles, it shapes up like they want to make a splash, maybe at the quarterback position, maybe Robert Griffin III. I would doubt it be trying to convince Peyton Manning to come out there, but you never know. The second part of that, though, for Eagles fans, they saved $23 million of cap space today by cutting those three players. And that would make it at least somewhat more likely that they could absorb that $8 million cap hit if they wanted to get rid of Nick Foles and just release him. And obviously, if you release him, then I think it's likely. It's more likely than not Nick Foles would be back in Philadelphia.
Oh, how about that? Last one, Dallas Cowboys defensive end. No surprise here from the day he was drafted, for me anyway. Randy Gregory suspended 4 games for violating the substance abuse policy. And, I feel bad for the guy. I don't feel bad for the guy. The fact that, he slipped in the draft and the Cowboys were the team and they got egg on their face.
Yeah, what a shock. And I joked when they drafted him and signed Greg Hardy, so many things for Orlando McClain, player after player. They were thinking about Johnny Manziel. You replace the star with the red flag. That might be their new logo, and it's not working out. It didn't work out with Greg Hardy. Now Gregory's suspended. There's a reason you put red flags on guys.
Yep.
And it's not just because you think it. They've had a significant problem. Gregory had very, very significant problems, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
John McMullen, JF McMullen on Twitter, and, of course, more Eagles news at 973ESPN.com. All right, pal, we'll talk to you. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you too, Mike. Say hi to Sam for me.
Yeah, I know he's waiting for your hello. Take care, man. John McMullen, 973ESPN.com. Sam Henke joins me next.